This video will look at the enactment process. But first, let's remember how we got here. Some disturbance, a problem, or an opportunity led to a period of deliberation involving dialogue, dialectic, and debate. Not in strict order, of course, but a process involving those three distinct types of discourse. Having now arrived at a decision, all that remains is to put it into practice. Even the best decision is just an idea without consequence until it is translated into action, and failure to do so effectively can be the Achilles heel in an otherwise sound decision making process. Thus, putting a decision into practice effectively should be seen as equally important to making a good decision in the first place. This process is often called implementation. But this term may wrongly suggest that someone has figured out all the details of how a decision can be put into practice and could, if they wanted, train everyone. In reality, putting a decision into practice is always a learning process that requires careful attention, collaborative analysis, and innovative response. Simple technical decisions like changing the date of a meeting may only require an effective communication plan in order to be enacted. But many decisions involve changes in behavior, and thus a learning curve that extends over time and requires support. Therefore, we refer to this process as enactment. Ideally, one would like everyone to be in agreement with a decision, but usually there will be a variety of opinions about it, ranging from opposition to indifference to agreement. Whether or not those who have to make the change are enthused about it, success can be achieved if everyone involved understands the reason for the decision, sees the process of arriving at it as fair and well considered, and knows the process for stewardship of the change and support of the participants as they climb the learning curve. And that learning curve features an initial dip in which productivity decreases temporarily and frustration and fatigue may mount, not only because people are learning new behaviors, but also because there are always unanticipated difficulties or consequences. Thus, not only individuals, but the system as a whole must learn its way through the process of enacting a decision. This requires the active, willing participation of all involved and a robust process of ongoing two-way communication and constructive deliberation. Acceptance and support in enacting a decision cannot be taken for granted. Willful neglect or passive resistance can easily lead to failure, of course, but even compliance may not be sufficient to ensure success unless participants put positive effort into making it work and feel empowered to provide honest feedback. Enactment then requires more deliberation to decide how to respond to what crops up during the process. Deliberation does not end with the initial decision being made. In business, this process is often referred to as the Deming cycle or continuous improvement. But in education, it is also often called inquiry learning. One makes a plan for enactment, does it, watches carefully, learns from what happens, and then changes the plan as necessary. And then the process is repeated over and over again, continuously, until the desired change is successfully enacted and institutionalized as a permanent part of organizational procedures and culture. So we see that continuous improvement is not an isolated process, but rather an ongoing one. In fact, more than a specific process, it's a way of being with other people in any context. Whatever you're doing with other people in an interdependent context, you need to constantly listen for understanding, look for integrative potential, and respectfully resolve whatever cannot be mutually agreed. It's not just a process, but a set of attitudes, skills, and strategies that become an integral part of your way of being. Constructive deliberation is grounded in an enlightened form of self interest that understands that sound decisions that can be successfully enacted require dual concern for your own interests and empathy for others' interests in order to find the best solution for your organization, community, country, or the world. The introductory video and this 5-part exploration of some key notions in constructive deliberation is complemented by a toolkit of short documents intended for personal exploration or for use in a discussion group. The full set of documents is organized as follows. Context. Deliberation requires attention to the inherently complex process of interpersonal communication. Setting. Deliberation is affected by what has happened before and by factors that may circumscribe what is within your circle of influence. Attitude. We all have a subconscious worldview which inclines us to certain beliefs and behaviors. Without a collaborative approach, constructive deliberation is not possible. Approach. The toolkit documents describe the particular form of constructive deliberation we are presenting. Processes. Deliberation, and in fact any communication, can be significantly enhanced by using protocols to scaffold effective communication and constructive behaviors. Skills. We can all improve our communication skills, and in constructive deliberation, our ability to listen non-judgmentally for understanding and to reveal our own thinking without trying to convince others, that is, dialogue, is foundational. Collaborative and constructive action can occur in an inevitably pluralistic and thus contested context if we take the time to listen to each other respectfully, seek ways to satisfy everyone's fundamental interests to the greatest possible extent, respectfully acknowledge our disagreements, make our best decisions, and explain it clearly to all who are affected, and then commit ourselves to supporting its enactment, monitoring the outcomes, and thus continuing to deliberate so that we can refine or revise them as we learn our way forward. The more we do so, the better we will be at it, the more willing others will become, and the more we will be able to accomplish.